Well, good evening. On Sláinte, we are live again. And a special guest, if anyone had guessed the cryptic clue, well done. It was really awful rendition of a wolf, but some people got it straight away. Love some of the funnier answers, so thank you very much for that. So WolfBurn tonight. WolfBurn. Yes. Look at that. Look at these cute little bottles. Huh? They're stunning. William, good evening. I'm going to just going to crack this open. Give me a second. Need a wee drink to start with, don't I? Can you go wrong with a wee dram? Excellent. So we have Mark Westmorland from WolfBurn joining us this evening. So obviously it'd be nice to bring him into the room. He's more than welcome to come in at any point. He has a far more superior beard and moustache going on than I do. But what I would say is I've still got my hair on my head. I'm doing rightly. Do you know what I mean? We'll bring him in. Connor, evening. And also, Michael, how are you? I'm very good, thank you. Mark?
You're a very cheeky man, Paul. So you are, Sláinte.
Sláinte. Here, you do have a really good beard going on, and I love the tash. But look,
lockdown effects. I shaved my head today, especially for well, I didn't realise I was going to be a special guest tonight. I've just finished a wee chat with friends in Sweden. So these are the best. These are the best chats. Not expected. Shoe in at the last minute, and let's just have a bit of blether. I see you're drinking a Northland there.
Yes. Look at that. Look at that. Look. This bottle is so cute.
Yeah. The good thing about our miniatures, when they're empty, a lot of people want to display them. They want to keep them on their bunker or on their counter because you can't see that it's empty. You don't have to fill it with cold tea just to make sure it looks like whiskey,
Some of the guys in here are having a bit of crack. Obviously, the chat we're going to have is obviously going to be better than the Scotland game. Obviously, you know what I mean? You don't know. I mean, what, 2 draws already? I mean, what's happening tonight? I don't know. I haven't kept abreast of the situation, but 2 draws so far. And this must be. Please tell me this is a friendly tonight.
I'm just holding my breath. In fact, not the chat, but I better put my.
He's going to Google it.
No. I'm gonna put my I usually get alerts, so I'll need to.
Put it on silent. That's a good
silent.
Look at this. Peter, even good.
We're 1 up anyway against the Faroe Islands. It's a must win. It has to be. World Cup qualifier. But yeah,
must win. So we've got the Northland. Just thank you very much for coming on the show. Last night, one of our guests has rearranged to come on later on in the year. And listen, Sláinte series, Mark, is about saying thank you for you getting involved in the festival last year. You showed us a lot of support, and I really appreciate that. So Sláinte series is about that. It's about saying thank you, but it's also giving you the chance, to talk about WolfBurn, talk about the projects that you've got going on. And yeah, I mean, look, I've got 3 whiskies in front of me. I've got the Northland. You can talk a little bit about that, sure, while I start to drink it. And I've got an R2, and look, I'm looking forward to the 3rd one because we had it at our whiskey club and it was spot on.
That's what's in my glass, but we'll maybe save that.
Right, we'll come to that later. Yes.
But yeah, and it's always good when folk, they've got their spirit in front of them and they're wanting to hear about the story. I'll not bore you with the history and the facts and figures, but the Northland for us, that was our first commercial release in 16, and that holds a special place for me because that was the first dram that I had with the distillery team outside, down at the distillery, with the whole team in front of the stills, and you discuss about your whiskey drinking journey, and you can remember really great times that you've had with great friends, and you can always remember the great drams that you had as well because it has a memory, it has an imprint on you. So the Northland for me, I'll always think about us standing in front of the still sharing a dram for our first sort of commercial release 5 years ago now. 5 years ago, which is quite bizarre when you think about it. But in a couple of years, we'll will hopefully have a limited release 10-year-old, and we're still classed as one of the youngsters in the whiskey making industry, which is fine. But 8 years in, a couple of years will be 10, and then just hold the reins, just hold us back, see where we go, because this is what we're looking for. I've said it before, we'll get to world domination eventually, but we'll just have to take it nice and canny, nice and gentle.
No, I think that's that's an interesting way to look at it, and rightly so. One of the new boys, and yet we're starting to get some older product into these bottles. I really like it. So lovely newness to the Northland. I really like that.
It's the non-peated spirit, so you're getting that slight smokiness from the maturation from those Isla casks that we have, and they're quarter casks, so they're 120 odd litres in size, a wee bit sort of faster, a wee bit more intense maturation, and it's only those quarter casks, the Northland. So our new make spirit, that lovely sort of tropical banana, that lovely sort of pineapple-esque, that lovely sort of, I describe it like the pineapple juice from a tin. In the old days, you took the tin lid. It wasn't the health and safety ones you get now that takes it with a nice smooth rim. It was the jaggy edge one. You had to peel it back, and then when you wanted to drink straight from the tin, you were worried that jaggy edge would take your ear off. But that lovely sort of pineapple, sort of tropical sweetness comes through for me with our non-peated spirit and our peated spirit. But the Northland can showcase that with a slight sort of smokiness, just a wee sort of burnt match smokiness at the back, just through those matches.
There is that very slight burnt edge, which is really nice. But it's creamy. It's got a lovely character to it. It really has. It's warming. It's a lovely warming dram.
46% as well. Yeah, it's a good hit, and 3 to 4 years. 3 to 4 years only, and that was the dram for us that put us on the map, because that was our first, and of course with every dram that comes from a distillery, their first release, you're under the microscope. People want to dissect it, they want to know everything about you, they want to compare you with others, and we held our own, and that's what put us on the want to watch list as well. So it was all thanks to the bloggers and the journalists that did that. But we knew we were producing a phenomenal spirit. We don't have to blow smoke up our own arse. We're doing it well.
Yeah, I think the reviews say it all. The reviews are very impressive. But it's and you've got. I mean, look, there's a kind of slight cult following for WolfBurn at the moment, isn't there?
Yeah.
You have like your own little kind of cult following, which is really nice.
The Wolf Pack. Now I know there's a new distillery going to be opening in Stirling called Wolf Craig, and they're sort of putting out their following as the Wolf Pack, but we were the original, and we're quite happy to say that. And I see the question on the screen there. At the moment, yes. The most northerly whiskey distillery on the mainland, Thurso, my birthplace. I was born and bred there. That's where the distillery is, the most northerly town on the British mainland. We took the title from Old Pulteney when we came online, and to 8 Doors Distillery that's going to open just outside John O'Groats very soon. I'm not sure when they'll be on spirit and when they'll set their own cask down, but they'll take that title from us, which we don't mind. It's for us to say that that's what we're all about. That's just an indication on the map for people to know where we are. Instantly recognise, well, if you say that you're the most northerly whiskey distillery on the mainland of the UK, the brain immediately goes north to where we are, and it's just a finger point. It really is. And if we can spread the love from Old Pulteney to WolfBurn to 8 Doors Distillery as well, it brings more tourists and brings more revenue to the north of Scotland.
Oh my God, yeah, and it's such a beautiful part of the world to go and explore.
Stunning.
Like you just don't. Anyone who lives in a city, anyone who lives, in the countryside, doesn't really understand the ruggedness, the beauty, the wind, You know, sometimes the cold, but I mean,
you know, the wind just
colours. It's the colours. It's the endless colour, which for those that know the lush kind of lakes and the kind of greeny countryside. This is not that. It's not that.
No,
it's lots of other colour though. You know, those heathers. Do you know what I mean? Here the sea, all of that. I mean, it's just so. I don't know. I just find it a very attractive place to go to go and spend some time. You know, lovely.
You know, you have the poets of yesteryear going to the Great Lakes of Windermere and Cumbria and stuff like that. You know, I always say you make the pilgrimage to WolfBurn, you'll be rewarded. You've got to make the effort, and what's better than making the effort to go, you know, 5 hours north of Glasgow, 5 hours north of Edinburgh. You know, when you arrive at a place and you've actually made that effort, you know, you feel better for it. You feel more rewarded for it as well, because you've decided. And with the North Coast 500, you know, Scotland's Route 66 going to be hopefully opening soon again. You know, we're going to be inundated, especially because a lot of people will be doing their staycations this year, not being able to travel abroad, which will cause some procrastinations with some. But for us, you know, we're getting, you know, in the height of summer with the big signs at the bottom of the road pointing folk up to WolfBurn Distillery, you know, we're getting 60, 70 visitors a day, just like turning up, you know. And if they can't do the tour, they'll look around the shop and they'll end up, you know, going away with a bottle or some merch or whatever. It's great, which is great for us. And that's the whole thing about being where we are. It's about making sure that people know what we're doing, getting the liquid to the lips, as I always say, you know. And if they're not driving and they walk in off the street and they can't, you know, they've missed the tour, you know, we've got a tasting table there. So, you know, it's like shooting fish in a barrel sometimes. You know, they walk in doughy-eyed and you just pounce on them and just drag them over to the tasting table and say, right, who's the driver? Right, okay, unlucky for you. There's a glass. Let's get some spirit. Let's start with the Northland of that, you know, our first example. And, you know, the people, especially with the visitors that we get from around the world, you know, they're blown away with the hospitality and the laid backness, or the sheer friendliness that we offer at the distillery. One of the stories, I was up doing tours in July, and there was a couple came in at the back of a tour, and I was looking at them thinking, yeah, I know you. I don't know where I know you from, but I know you. I'm usually good with that. I'm usually good with faces. Names, not faces yet. And then we did the tour and we came back, and then came up to me and they said, "Oh, do you remember us?" And I says, "Well, names no, but I recognise your faces." And they said, "Oh, we were at a whiskey tasting, and you did the whiskey tasting, and we were totally blown away with the spirit that you had that night." And I says, "All right, where was that?" And they said it was on Melbourne. It was the Whiskey and Ailment in Melbourne, Australia. And I was like, Jesus. He says, "We said we would visit, and here we are." You know, at the height of the pandemic, just about, they were marooned in Scotland, and Hayley was pregnant. She wasn't drinking for obvious reasons, and I just thought, you know, you're in Scotland. That presentation has whetted your appetite. You've made the effort to come and see us, and it was, you know, for me, that feedback that you get from passionate fans, and for people that want to shout WolfBurn from the rooftops to their friends, their families, their colleagues, you know, they become our ambassadors as well. So they went back to Australia. They managed to get back to Australia when they could. Gave birth. Their wee daughter's called Isla, which is brilliant. Beautiful. And then I did another tasting, a Zoom tasting for Whiskey and Ailment in Melbourne in January. And here on the sort of bottom left corner is the whole family and the baby. So they joined that tasting again. And instantly, you know, "Oh, how you doing?" Big shout out to Robert and Hayley and baby Isla. And they were like, "Wow, just giving it large, giving it laldy," you know, it was brilliant. But that's you know, they're the feel-good stories that you want. You know, I'm a people person, you know that. everybody's the same.
You have it as a distiller. You have an interesting story. You kind of share a journey as well with Irish whiskey, because you kind of set up at the same kind of time as a lot of these other Irish whiskey distilleries have started to garner pace. So it's actually nice to see a Scottish distillery at the same level, the same kind of pace, the same kind of movement, and it's nice to see that there's a bit of equality at this point, and it's now going to come down to taste. It's now going to come down to, because listen, no offense, very difficult for you at WolfBurn, very difficult for let's put another one, Teeling, when they're with their liquid, not their show stuff, but very difficult for the two of you, for example's sake, to take on the big boys. Very tough for Teeling to take on IDL and Jameson. Very difficult for you to take on Bowmore, or Old Putney even. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is your neighbour. So it's lovely journey types. We're gonna see that, over the next couple of years. We're gonna see, when you get to your 10-year-old and 12-year-old, well, how does that compare to the 12-year-old next door neighbour? And we're going to drink a Morven.
Lovely. Our lightly peated spirit.
Yeah, peated spirit. And you can maybe answer Peter's question here. He's got a question just for you.
Yeah, favourite cask during maturation. We've got some rum casks that are nowhere near yet, which are going to be absolutely, they're going to blow me away, because with the tropical fruit flavour of our new make spirit with a rum cask, I think that's just going to blow my mind. However, we did our first ever finished whiskey last year. It came out in January. It was a small batch 155, and it was a port finish. And again, talking about the emotive nature of whiskey, me and my dad used to drink port together all the time, and having a port finish in a whiskey, I've got some Arran port finish just at the side here. I love a port finish in a whiskey, and as soon as I knew we were doing a port finish, I drink that whiskey now and instantly think of my father, because of that taste, that reflection, that memory. Mind you, my dad used to like to drink anything, so anything that I drink would probably remind me of my father. And the bad thing is, he died in 2013, so he died 2 months after WolfBurn started on its spirit, and he's never had the opportunity to sample the spirit as well. So I know he'll be looking down, punching the air, giving it big licks to say that his laddie, his local lad, done good promoting WolfBurn on the world stage. What a dream for me. But I know that he would be super proud of me as well. So yeah, the port finish. Fonseca Ruby Port hogsheads, they were 6 months. We did 5 years in a bourbon cask before that, first full bourbon cask. The Madeira cask finish that we did at the end of last year as well, which was lovely. But the port cask, for me, I think that hit the right reasons for the memories, for the taste, the flavour, even the colour. We don't have any at my side here.
It was a lovely kind of rosier gold.
That lovely rosy hue, yeah. And I can mind breaking into song when I was doing a presentation in New Zealand. When a child is born, that rosy hue gathers all around. And I just went off on a tangent. The audience just looked at me and thought, what is this guy all about? How much has he had to drink? But I was just in the moment. I was just enjoying it, and that's what it's all about.
I think you've answered Peter's question very well. It was nice to see Craig Watson giving you some plaudits there.
Oh, Craig, man.
Fair play to Craig. And listen, Craig, we all support you moving on in the industry. Something will pop up 100%. And listen, good luck to you, Craig.
Last
really
impressed. Today, yeah. All the best.
Yeah. Look, there's lots of things to keep them. No doubt, there's going to be lots. And the big thing about England, we can touch on it because we're not going to mention any brands. But England, we are seeing a revival of mass proportion of distilling. They were never known for whiskey, but distilling.
Stunning
stuff. And here we go, and all of a sudden It's all about the whiskey in England. So here, Craig's going to have, he's going to have to find someone to jump on there.
If somebody doesn't snap him up, they're not doing their job. One of the most hospitable brand ambassadors. I don't know whether that means that I always had an open bottle and it was quite a generous pour, but I don't know what that means. But with a bottle of whiskey, it's no loss what a friend gets. And the shows and the festivals are great because you see, especially on the circuit in the UK, you see the same faces and the same names, and you get an opportunity, when you're not stoked at your stand, to sort of mosey over to your neighbour with your glass and go, right, what have you got for us? And you do a wee bit of swapsies as well, which is brilliant. And this is how you meet a lot of people. This is how you create that networking opportunity as well. Over a brand.
The Morven here, which is a lovely name, by the way, and the only Morven I know is a lady, Morven Neal, and lives or would have been from. I think actually is she from Thursday? She would be from that direction. If she's not from Inverness, maybe Inverness. Morven Neal. So she's listening. It's been a long time since we had a good chat, Morven. But look, it's a lovely name for a bottle. Absolutely brilliant. I think it's great.
My niece is called Morven.
And where's the and who picked the name? Was that you?
No, I'll not take any credit for that, I'm afraid. Morven is the highest peak in Caithness. You can see it just over my shoulder. He says, looking up here. Caithness, Europe's largest peat bog, flat as a witch's.
And it's a lovely whiff of peat. It's a lovely subtle peatness. It doesn't hit you, and it's very approachable, super approachable.
A beautiful balance of sweetness and smoke, that one, because that's our lightly peated spirit, but 50% first fill bourbon and 50% in the same ex-Isla quarters that we did the Northland in as well. And that's a great whiskey for people that maybe want to get into the peated whiskey, but they're too fierce. They don't want that recycled hospital big iodine hit. They want something to just coax them in gently, the open door, the gateway to the peated whiskies. And we don't do anything heavily peated. 10 ppm is the most heavily peated that we've done. Not to say that we might not try something in the future, but everything seems to be working at the moment. So why change it? We like to experiment. Let's just wait and see.
I think in the main, Mark, that people want, they want to get into peated whiskey. Those that are Irish drinkers. I know this. That Irish drinkers, we don't have a mass amount of peated whiskey available to us. We've got a couple of brands that have been around and have given us it. And there was a good chat tonight on Sergey's Irish Whiskey Magazine chat tonight, and they were talking with Mark, and he was, they were going on about some of the peated stuff. But as Irish whiskey drinkers and modern Irish whiskey drinkers, there's not been a lot of choice. There's not been a lot of peated. We're actually starting to see a revival here of distilleries making an attempt. So we had earlier on in the week on Monday, we had David from Redaman Estate. Talk about Shortcross whiskey, which will be out, and they have 100% made sure they're bringing peated whiskey to the table, and I think that's really nice. And it will be nice to see these peated whiskies from Ireland, having a bit, as I say, that chance to go toe to toe with distilleries in Scotland and bring a level of peatiness to the world, which, to be honest, we haven't seen for a long time in Ireland. So. For a very long time.
It's great for the consumer to have that choice, and ultimately that's what we did with our core range. We've got the non-peated, we've got the sherried oak. There's Heather talking about the Aurora, our sherried oak expression. So that's great feedback, Heather. Thanks very much for that.
I'm glad she enjoyed it. Good.
And the lightly peated that you're drinking, the Morven as well, and then we've got the Langskip, we've got the sort of near cask strength. So you've got a choice. So we're just saying to people that even if you don't you take a whiskey from us and you don't like it. There's opportunities there. There's others for you to try as well, and that's what it's about. It's about giving people a range of taste and flavors, and letting them, just dip into it as they wish. But if you don't have that range, and it's great to see what the Irish distilleries are doing, and as you say, bringing sort of peated, and there's going to be that, that sort of peat off with Scotch as well, to see what the comparisons are as well. So it's
because I think the Japanese. I mean, the Japanese. I mean, if we look at the Japanese, some of those Japanese distilleries, like Nika with their Yochi range. I mean, that's peated, single malts peated. Some of that's lovely. Some of that's absolutely adorable. And actually, can stand up well to a lot of good Scotch. So it will be nice to see Irish distilleries if they can beat that level. If they can beat if they can turn it if they can turn an Islay drinker into an Irish peated whiskey drinker, that's the game changer there for those boys, surely. I relish that opportunity. Like I'm not a distiller. Our team, our young team, as I call them, because 4 of them are under like 21 years and under at the stills. The 5 guys that we have on the just a couple of years old. You're just a couple of years older, Mark. You're in your late 20s, sure.
Oh my God, you've not had enough already. Come on. But yeah, it's great. I relish. Oh, that's what I'm drinking. I relish that challenge. I really do, because you just don't want to sit back on your laurels. You want to actually just go out hell bent for leather and try your damnedest to do what you have to do with the spirit and the maturation that you're doing. You're always trying to better your last expression, which is the best work ethic you can have, because you want to make it a supreme, phenomenal liquid. Not just because you like it, but you want it to sell. It's a business. We have to make money. But
Liam picks a good question here for you. Obviously, being a new distillery, have you found it easier to break into the international markets over traditional distillery followers back home in Scotland? Like, is it easier for you to tap into someone not from Scotland potentially?
Yeah, I think, because of what we are, we're a fiercely independent distillery, and that's not a political statement. I always say that. The fact that we're doing everything ourselves, apart from the malting and the barley, we're doing everything else on site, hand bottling everything. Even the miniatures that you've got in your hand have been hand bottled by ourselves at the distillery. And the whole sort of legend of WolfBurn, the old distillery, which was 200 years ago now, 1821. And then the rebirth, the reawakening in 2012 when we rebuilt the distillery from scratch. So it's a modern day efficient distillery, but trying to do it the traditional way. Pitching that to sort of distributors across the world, and distributors who I support and have done since I got involved with the distillery. They were always looking for something just away from the norm. They were looking for away from some of the mass-produced, the whiskey factories. No disrespect to any of them, but they wanted something quite unique and quite bespoke and quite handcrafted. And everything that we were doing ticked the boxes. Even our production. Like last year, we only did 100,000 litres, which is a crazy amount. Just a very, very small. But usually we'll do 115, 120, 125,000 litres. So it's, again, we dropped a fifth last year just because of the situation we were under. Yeah. But it's just that opportunity just to produce something on a small scale that have a mighty, mighty impact. For us, again, it's not about quantity, it's about quality. And as soon as the liquid hits the lips, as soon as those distributors get a taste of our spirit, they're like, wow, we have to get this. We have to. And we're in 36 countries across the world now. New emerging markets in South Korea, Philippines.
You're nearly as in many. You're nearly actually in as many countries as we have followers for our whiskey festival. Nearly, I'd say we're pitting above you at the moment. But I think, look, it's nice that Liam asked that question. I think that's a very interesting question.
Yeah,
I
it's
actually
good.
like Peter's got a lovely question here, and I think that's an interesting one because that's very technical. It's a technical question because we do talk about the two mash bills that you have, the two distillates. I think that is, well, that must be a trade secret, surely.
No, I'm quite happy. I'll die by the sword. I'll get the WhatsApp message from the boss. Why did you say that? And I said, no, it's fine. But the likes of our peated expressions, like we run the stills peated for 8 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks a year only. So it's usually before the summer shutdown. So again, we do the peated expression spirit before the summer shutdown. Then we clean everything back, and then we start the non-peated. But the first casks that we always fill after the peated will be the Northland, for the Northland, the quarter casks, because if there's any remnant throughout any of the systems of that lightly peated, the 10 ppm, it's going in the Northland, which is it's going into a peated cask anyway.
It already has a peated element to it. That's very smart.
So again, it's not going to taint anything else because there's already in that maturation going to have that peated influence as well. So yeah, there's a wee trade secret.
I think that's quite smart. That's a smart ploy. It's
a simple ploy. Oh, hey,
it's a super smart.
I'll snap you. Two hearts.
The Valentine's bottling. Yes.
You sweet boy, you. Beautiful.
I think it's class.
52.6, I think it is.
That's a lot of alcohol.
52. This we did the Valentine's Day this year. First ever we've done any Valentine's Day bottlings before, and we just thought, let's do one. So it was that popular when we released it on the web shop, because we sell everything direct from the distillery now. So we've got our own web shop. People log on to WolfBurn.com. They go top left. They go into the shop. They can buy everything from us. It crashed the website as soon as we offered that out, and we had to honestly, a victim of your own success, which was great. And we said, right, we'll sort it. We'll come back tomorrow, and then it'll be on tomorrow. And what happened? It crashed again. Absolute nightmare. So what we had to do, people had to actually email in their order form with a request for the Valentine's Day bottling. And, all credit to the admin staff, Jen and Gemma at the distillery. They're the backbone of how the bottles get around the world, because they have to do the counts, they have to do the packaging, they have to do all the sort of the labeling, everything that goes through it. But it must, it was, I'm not saying it must have been, it was a logistical nightmare to do that. And some people, even in Europe at the moment, are still waiting on their Valentine's Day bottle because of the bourach that Brexit caused, with parcels getting pushed into a warehouse and forgotten about. And then there's not a customs form, and there's not a this, and there's not a that. And we saw, from our point of view, we saw our carriage costs to go into Europe more than double because of the regulations and what's needed now. And because we're in the far north of Scotland, DHL are the only ones that will run that far up and actually collect. So they've got us over a barrel, the blinders that they are. Pardon the pun.
The pun.
But you just don't know if the Europeans that are exporting into the UK are having the same grief or having the same problems. Because as soon as they start having the same grief as us, somebody will have to sit around the table and go, Christ almighty, let's get this sorted, because nobody's winning.
I think we definitely saw major issues on getting stuff, from Europe into Ireland, where we're seeing a big issue, getting stuff into Belfast. But I think what's happening now is, I've noticed Amazon are a 14-day turnaround for alcohol now. I was getting alcohol the next day. Now it's 14 days. So that there's been a change of tack there with Amazon recently. So I'm not sure what's going on. Some interesting questions. Liam loves your bottle, but he's interested. Is your branding in-house? Do you do in-house branding? Yeah.
Everything that we do. Like here's a couple of our Kilver series, which is our premium brand series that we do. This is just a big push because Kilver 8 comes out next month. Pardon the opportunity to get that out there. But yeah,
listen. You sell as much as you can just now. You go ahead.
What it is our brand manager. He was highly commended in the World Whisky Awards this year. Paul Collins creative, which is great because he's technically the brother-in-law of one of our owners, and Paul's always done the designs. And I'm lucky enough I get to see the renders a few weeks before the release, if they allow me access, because I'm quite sneaky. I always like to have inside information, but I think they've grown to love me because of that. But they're thinking, don't tell Mark too much because he can get so passionate. He can his mouth will run away with him, and he'll ruin a release, or he'll let the cat out of the bag or something like that as well. But so far it's not happened. But yeah, all our designs done in house, and it's nice to see the consistency of WolfBurn. It's nice to see the journey and how we do things, and whether it's a slight subtle change of our carton or the size of our like the Kilver edition is like 1.5 times the size of one of our cartons. And when we released our Kilver series, there's going to be 24 in the whole series. Next 2 weeks from now, it'll be out. And when the Kilver series was first released, the first 3 releases was a carton of a certain size, and we had passionate fans, ultra fans, building shelves of 8, 8, 8, and that's where the Kilver series will go, and it'll be brilliant. And we just made the packaging just that slightly wider, and they were like, no, what have you done? I'm going to have to
run back to IKEA.
Yeah, I'm going to have to break into another room and display my WolfBurn. But as a company, you have to evolve. You can't just sit staid. You can't just sit on your laurels. As I said earlier on, if we have an opportunity to work with a packaging company or a label maker, and they're doing it the best for us, and we see an opportunity for us to get the brand a wee bit more recognition, whether it's the type of label or the feel of label. Like, I'm very kinesthetic. It's all about the touch and the feel for me. It's not always about the look. It's about how a bottle feels in your hand. And when somebody on the chat earlier on says the bottle, you look at the bottle, it's got WolfBurn Distillery on the bottom, it's got Thurso Scotland on the back, there's a certain weight to it, there's a certain quality to it, a bespoke bottle. And you want that. You're producing the best spirit you can. You want the best vehicle to market, because you want the best. You want your bottle to have a presence on a shelf, whether it's the back of a bar or whether it's on an off license. You want somebody, and again, the WolfBurn brand, the Seawolf, it's drawn people in. Folk are like, what is that? I've not seen that before. We're nosy fuckers, us humans. We'll go towards something, because we're like that. We're inquisitive. We have a thirst for knowledge as well. Pardon, is it past the watershed? Thankfully.
No, you can say what you like. It's okay.
Well, this is the good thing is with our branding. I know that was a question. I went off on a wee tangent there, but everything that we do has to complement our spirit.
Yeah.
And that's. Paul's knocked it out of the park, and wait till you see this Kilver 8. Wait till you see it. It's regal. I'm not going to give too much away, but it's just absolutely stunning. It really is. If anybody saw our Chinese New Year bottle, year of the ox that we did in January. If they love that, they're gonna. This is the Kilver 8, which is called One Joe, which means joy, friendship, fellowship, excitement. It's going to blow people's minds.
Exciting!
I
I'm excited
just
for
can't
that.
wait. I honestly can't wait. But you'll have to get your dibs. You have to jump on your computer and keep the fingers.
Keep the finger on it.
Fingers light. You'll have to do that.
Peter has another good question. Peter loves the questions, which is really important. I really like them as well. But do you feel that the weather helps a lot during maturation? And obviously Liam's piped in and he says, "Look, Islay distilleries would swear by it in some respects."
Of course, you want your outside environment to have you want it to have an impression and a flavour impact as well, because that's what makes the area unique. Like, as I said, Caithness is flat. The wind from the sea air that comes in from the Pentland Firth, out the back of the distillery, you look out over to Orkney, and you can see the old Manahoy, you can see Dunnet Head on the right hand side. But because it's flat, that sea air will howl through our distillery and through our traditional dunnage warehouses as well. So as the angel share leaves, the porous nature of the wood, the outside environment has an opportunity to come in. So again, that sort of maritime brininess, that salty sea air, I can pick up from our spirit. And it's like walking along the beach at Thurso. One day it can be clear as seaweed, the next it can be full of seaweed. And it's just iconic. For me, I could shut my eyes and think I'm walking along with my dog Shan. It's grabbing the end of the seaweed. I'm swinging it, not round my head, that would be, but I'm swinging it from side to side on the beach. And that lovely sort of sea spray, that lovely sort of experience, I can get ever so slightly from our expressions as well, depending on what the maturation is as well. But yeah, of course, you want your outside environment to help flavour your spirit, because that's what makes it unique. Your location, and because the trees are growing at 45-degree angles because there's nothing stopping them. That's if they grow. And you mentioned the colours of the north. You get dark grey, you get light grey, you get it can be dreich and it can be.
Let's not put it down. It is a colourful place. It is colourful.
That's absolutely stunning.
It's just not, and I said it. It's just not those big rolling green hills.
No,
it's not that. It's a different type of. It's a different type of colour. See when that you get to dusk and you see those beautiful kind of purple hues coming across. I think it's stunning.
Well, we've got the Flow Country. It's called the Flow Country. We're getting or hopefully going to get UNESCO World Heritage status, not because of the Europe's largest peat bog, but because of the flora and the fauna that we have and the migratory birds that stop as well. And having that opportunity, as you're driving through Caithness, it's flat, so you can see forever. Whether you're looking out onto the Sutherland Mountains at Sullivan, or you're looking at the Maiden's Pap or Morven or Scarabin, these big mountains are probably visible for the majority of the county because because that's as big as you'll get after the flat barrenness of the Caithness County as well. But again, when we growing up there, having the river, there's a beautiful salmon river, having the rocks, having the beach there, I'm again, whether it's the spirit itself, I'm totally biased. If it's the area, I'm totally biased because I've grown up there. I was born and bred there, and it just got so many iconic memories of my childhood, and it's like our spirit. It's like instead of that hot poker going down the throat, it's just like the rolling tear down the cheek. And when I think of the north and I think about my upbringing, that tear manifests. That tear will come out. And that's what you want. You want to be passionate about your area. You want to be passionate about your spirit. You want to be passionate about your job. And you want that electricity. You want people to feed off that. Because you can go to presentations and you can go to tastings, and it's like, yeah, PowerPoint this, PowerPoint that, blah blah. But you want to get a fire in your belly. You want to, you stand up and punch the air, and big hugs when we can, and shouts of glee and joyfulness. That's what you want. And if I can't do that, I'll stop. As soon as that fire goes out in me, somebody else will have to do it. But as you know yourself, Paul, you'll never get that with me. I'm as passionate as the day is.
Very, 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 very passionate, and so you should be, because you do have something to shout. You have something to shout about, and that having that, I suppose, that the deep connection, particularly to the area, but the deep connection to what's going on. There's a lot of history there in that part of the world.
So how are you enjoying the Valentine's then, my man? That's lovely.
I'm just obviously this is the peated expression, which is great, which has got that beautiful, beautiful sweet peat aroma. What casks were you using here? Because the alcohol, the alcohol's absolutely, the alcohol's sublime. It doesn't, at 52.6%, it's not a turn off. It's so welcoming for the amount of alcohol.
Bourbon casks and
really?
octaves.
Oh, an octave, right? Okay.
Now, 5-year-old or spirit that went into the Valentine's, and again, just because even the Morven at 46%, because that's the lowest that we'll actually do our drams at, but jumping up to 52.6, it just gives it just that wee bit more of a oomph, just that wee bit more of a presence. But again, it's not overly aggressive. It's still, this is the third or fourth glass I've had tonight, pardon the pun, but they're small measures. In my WolfBurn branded Glencairn glass available.
That's nice. That's a nice glass.
But it's I was doing tastings last year. In fact, I'm still doing tastings this year, and we're doing the perfect dram glasses, and I'm usually pouring myself 1 centilitre of each expression that I'm doing. But the perfect dram glasses that we sell are tiny, and it looks like I've got big, massive hands when I'm holding one in my, it's like a big giant's hand, especially when you put it close to the camera and that. And sometimes I've got to say, look, my hands aren't that massive. It's a small Glencairn glass, and I'm only drinking 10 millilitres.
It's the wee half Glencairns. Yeah.
Yeah, but the Valentine's edition, having it a wee bit more punchy, a wee bit more of an ABV. I love, like last the Gabo or Kilver 7 last year, a lightly peated sherry, absolutely bliss, absolutely stunning. Just for me, that's I've died and gone to heaven. I'll not say it's my favourite. It's like choosing one of my children. Can't say that. I can't have a favourite, but it depends on your moment. It depends on who you're with. It depends on and for me, it depends on the newest release, because you're uber excited. You're so stoked when you get a new bottle of WolfBurn.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky enough, I've maybe had a chance to maybe sample some of the casks, or have been involved in some of the tastings for a decision. But when you get it in a bottle, and it's the tin sleeve comes off, the foil comes round, and there's nothing plastic about it, the oak cap on the cork, and that favourite sound, that popping of the cork, that's just the
it does rightly. It does rightly.
It's a big fat cork, and I said cork there for anybody that wasn't listening. It's the thickest before you had to go sort of specialise. It's about, I think it's 23 mil or something like that.
Good.
And it's that iconic sound of popping a cork. It's like the meerkats. Folk anywhere, as soon as you do that, they'll look to see where that bottle's been popped. Because it lures folk in. It really does.
Oh, wow.
It's like you're building a hole, putting branches and leaves over it, and just waiting folk to come in and fall into your trap. Because that's exactly what we want to do.
Mark, you know what? I mean, look, I'm thank you very much for coming on tonight. These little episodes are very short lived. I want to keep them nice and short, but I want to say thank you. I want to say genuinely 100% thank you for the support last year. You also visited Belfast Whiskey Club, virtually. That was great. I'm glad you enjoyed yourself. I know we're a tough crowd at the club.
You're hard.
You're a hard group, but your Valentine's bottle did very, very well in our last tasting.
Nice
so,
in
fact, I might even have. Let me see if I've got my book.
Nice to hear.
No, I don't know if I've got my book on me.
You can share the love with me later. Don't worry.
But it did well. Look, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, Mark, that we maintain the relationship. Hopefully, we can get you involved. At the Whiskey Week, hopefully, things permit that you can come here to sunny Belfast. Do you know what I mean? And be involved, because I do think, Mark, I'll be honest. Belfast Whiskey Week, is not about just the people of Ireland. It's not just about the people of Belfast. It's now become, very much an international festival. Iconically, it's going to be the largest community-led festival. So we're allowing a lot of the participants to decide what goes on at the festival and what happens there. So I would like you to join. The 60, 70 odd brands that are involved, distilleries, and really putting yourself out there, because sure, why not? Do you know what I mean? And you amongst all others know that the more you talk about it, the more people listen, the more that people get the chance to hear what you have to say. So listen.
Yeah, great platform. Thanks very much for the invite. Let's have a talk off screen, but there's some work to do together. That beautiful collaboration that we have, let's continue that, my man.
That'd be great. And listen, I'm going to end the broadcast just now as well, because I'm going to go later on. I'm doing a wee thing on our Facebook page. So listen, Mark, thank you very much. Sláinte.
Thanks, Paul. All the best.